Good point, I thought. And we were talking about why we weren't in a better position economically, having to do with the jobs issue. And he answered the question himself, which I thought was interesting, and I didn't see it picked up on really. But what he said was, the day Obama was elected, corporations kept their money in the bank and just reined in. And the reason they did was because they didn't trust him. That was his justification.
Is he the first president that people have?
No, not by a wide margin, but he's the first president that's been facing the sort of opposition that based on issues that have never come up before. Now,
the connotations involved there are just mind-boggling.
Yes, it is. But what I found interesting is they blame Obama for the economy being what it is, but yet the day he was elected, before he put any policy in place, they decided that they were going to hang on to their money and not invest their money. Now, this is a Republican saying this. This is Joe Scarborough on MSNBC saying that.
He may not always be right.
Well, he's been in office. I mean, he's been in office,
in Congress,
and he is very knowledgeable. But we're the logic and rationale of a lot of these discussions. They're not logical. That's my point. They're not logical. They're actually illogical. They're hypocritical, and it's obvious, but yet we continue down that path, and we allow it to be espoused and espoused and espoused until people finally start believing. If you say a lie often enough, it puts out that seed, and before you know it, you're going to hear that lie, and people are going to start believing it. And that's exactly what they're doing. And I think that goes back to that playbook with Alec. I think that the day he got elected, they had already set in motion what they were going to start playing. And I know it sounds like a conspiracy theory.
It is a conspiracy.
No, because what happened, what it actually amounts to is that they put labels on Democratic policies that were a little bit different than what they normally label things, because it was Barack Obama. The socialism, these were not unusual things that he was doing. They were framed. That was the word I was searching for.
Yes, they were attempting to frame him. They wanted to label him a Muslim, label him a non-American, that he didn't belong here, he wasn't one of us. Okay, and the undercurrent and we're needing to have a discussion in this country about our racially divided relationship. We're needing to have that discussion. And unfortunately,
President Clinton tried to initiate that discussion, and he didn't get very far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely time, and unfortunately, this president, who I just love. But this president has brought a lot of ugliness out of the closet. He has.
No doubt.
And the disrespect that's been leveled at him is absolutely maddening to me. And unfortunately, that's something that any amount of logic, any amount of rational discussion, there are certain segments of this society that if there's a wall there, they're not going to hear it. They're not going to hear it. And there's nothing in the Affordable Care Act that they're going to take a piece of and accept as something positive.
So do you believe that if enacted the full piece of legislation, we would be better today than we were before?
I think so, but I think my feeling is even if it's not perfect, it should be a work in progress. And if we had reasonable people that weren't thinking about their own pocketbooks and what was going to work best for their own self-interest, and instead were thinking about what was in the best interest of the country.
Politically, you can't allow this to succeed. You can't allow anything from this administration to succeed, because that's the only thing that they have to run on.
It'll validate him, and they don't want to validate him.
But you know what? Aren't they banking on the American people being stupid?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, they are, without a doubt.
And
Without a
are
doubt.
the American people stupid? I'm going to say no.
Well, look at this state. It ranks 50th. How many states we got? It ranks 50th in voter turnout. Come on. That is pretty stupid.
People have a
Because
reason.
people are not...
People have a reason to come out, they'll come out.
There's always a reason to come out. That's no excuse. There's always a reason to come out and vote. But the apathy, the complacency...
So you're saying we could do better if they would annex another state? We'd have...
Oh, don't even get me into
we'd
the
be
annexing
51.
thing.
I mean, we could drive our number up. We just need more states.
Oh,
I mean,
okay,
We're
there's
limited.
the answer.
We're limited by the number of states.
Well, what we're doing is we're splitting states in two. Look at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at the fight we've got going on here. I think the bottom line is we need to get people educated and we need to get them out to vote. Hello? That's why we got this message, because people they didn't think that they had a voice. And that's one thing.
They don't trust that their voice will be heard even if they vote.
That's right.
I mean, many times, you talk to folks and they'll tell you, why should I vote? It doesn't matter. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. I believe that if you had this tsunami of voters, they would have to listen. Because they would, while they're firmly in the grasp of the lobbyists, because the lobbyists bring a lot of money. The one thing that we can do as individuals, if we vote in mass, which doesn't cost a dime.
That's right.
We're much more powerful than any amount of money the lobbyists can bring. Because if I have a congressional candidate or a person sitting in Congress or in the Senate, if we have a president that doesn't listen to the constituency of this country, we have the ability to change them out. But we only have that power in numbers. And to use a labor term, solidarity.
I think it really scared them the last presidential election. There were so many
There
people
was a wave.
that turned out to vote. And then when they didn't come out for the governor election, I think that kind of put a halt to that.
I think people are awakening up again, though. I think that the Citizens United, actually, I think people, and Occupy Wall Street, I mean, the camping thing may have gone well beyond its life. They might have could have taken a little bit different direction, because it did end up kind of pushing people away. But I think you're going to see the people coming out into the streets should have woken up the country, everybody in this country, and that situation will be back. And if you take with it the women's issues that women are starting to come up and fight against, you take the union issues, because Wisconsin woke up that sleeping giant, and then you take the Occupy, which has definitely showed the disparity between the 1% and the 99%, because, I mean, that's their trademark. Okay, that's what they've focused on. And so taking all that into perspective, and then with the Citizens United ruling showing that, hey, well, they can just throw any amount of money at this they want and get anything they want. Your voice doesn't matter. And I think that message, if people stop and really think about it, then they're going to realize that if they don't vote, then they are going to have no voice. And that's why we're trying to keep our focus on November. But we need to be in every election that comes up. But the big election in November is what most people have their sights on. So we need to get that vote turned out. We need to get people
say that every week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Lily Ledbetter.
Yeah.
There are people that think that that's a bad piece of legislation.
Well, there's people that also think that women should be home in the kitchen. So, that's probably those same folks, I'm thinking.
But they're going to make it a political issue in this campaign.
Well, okay.
Now,
we can do that.
But how Lily Ledbetter came about was through Lily Ledbetter filed a lawsuit against Firestone Tire and Rubber. She was a supervisor. She wasn't being paid what other male counterparts were being paid. She filed this lawsuit. She won the lawsuit. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. Inevitably ended up being a piece of legislation called the Lily Ledbetter Law. And that was strictly to make sure that women are paid the same as their male counterparts. Who could be against that?
Man.
Why? What does it matter to me whether or not you get paid the same thing I get paid?
I have no idea. It does to some men, though, obviously, or this wouldn't be needed.
There are women who believe it. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I know them.
Well, there was just a discussion the other day about how, well, women work less because they have the children. Now, I'm thinking my brain's flipping to the opposite. Okay, if anybody needed to be paid more, then women need to be paid more because they're also trying to take care of their homes, take care of their kids, and keep the family together. And so this idea, and this is when I have to say I am so grateful that I was able to be involved in a union. I came into our union in 1980. There is no question that I will draw the same wage as my male counterpart. And that's what unions do. They offer that
Is that
balance.
one of the things that unions do? Oh my goodness.
Well,
we have people who just, would argue that unions are not a good thing.
no, and
Sarcasm
yes, I
isn't
know.
on point.
Villainizing the unions, I mean, yeah, I'm used to that discussion, and hey, baby, I'm on for it. But the bottom line is that unions offer a counterbalance to the capitalist mindset, which is all about making the biggest profit for their board members or whatever. That's their goal. All right, unions, if they're running properly and doing their job, from my estimation, should be representing the people that are members of them for their safety and for their well-being. So that balance is a natural balance, especially in today's society, when we have this 1% versus the 99% discussion and that disparity that has been ever widening and widening and widening. And back to the Reagan era, where the unions started into their decline.
Well, he actually broke the back of the unions with air traffic
Yes, he
controllers.
did. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we've been going steadily, and you can see, if you look at the graph, you can see the decline in the middle class as the unions declined. That's no accident. And believe me, the people that are making the money, they don't want to pay that union wage. But the bottom line is that union wage is what is sending the kids to school, is having the money to buy the products that these companies are putting out. The labor movement, or the laborers, are actually the backbone of this country. Okay, the corporations bring it. There's got to be a respect and a balance for both sides, and the unions are what provide that opposite side.
It was for a while. What went wrong?
Well, okay, so going back to the Reagan deal, again, we've got a GOP plank that says less intrusive government, stay out of our capitalistic society. We want you to govern, we want laws that are going to take care of this and that, but we don't want you interjecting yourself in the cost of medicines and regulating insurance companies so they're not environmental issues because actually the Clean Air Acts and things like that are gutted because you keep cutting the regulators, the people that actually are going around inspecting and running the test. If you don't fund that, again, you've just got a speed limit sign and no cops.
Mm-hmm.
The same GOP plank that stands on that, then you've got a president that basically interjects right in the middle of a capitalistic situation where you have a union contract. That union contract is up. They have the right to strike. They have the right to have solidarity, to negotiate their contract. That's between the union and the company, and the government steps in and says, just hire some new people.
Right. It had to do with commerce. The government, they used the opportunity under the premise of it was good for the commerce of the country.
Well, and too, I mean, you stop the airplanes from flying, and it becomes a security issue and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think it shut down the military planes, so I'm not sure how that played.
Yeah.
But
well, it was quite a grand